All right. Here we all are. Good morning or good evening, depending on where you all are at. Um, yeah, feel free to give me drop a message. It'd be nice to see who's all here. But but anyway, yeah, the first few minutes we always wait up a good 5 minutes for other folks to hop on board here. But yeah, in the meantime, still in Hue here, and a lot of good news. New opportunities keep coming in. Just to kind of catch up a little bit. Specifically, yeah, I started being a travel writer. Kind of like with a interesting company called Tail City, and Tail City effectively is all about yeah. Oh, hey, good morning, Kung. Wonderful to see you, buddy. And Tail City, and actually, Kung, you could help me with this, man. Tail City is basically a walking tour app, so to speak. In other words, it's able to create like quick 2-minute stories such that a person can travel throughout the country and travel throughout, let's say, Hue City here, and just listen to stories along the way, whether it's about the bridge, a tomb, or something along those lines. So anyway, it'll be a really fun adventure to be. Oh, Blake, buddy, good morning or good evening for you. Wonderful to see you as usual, my friend. Oh, and by the way, Blake, I'd be delighted to know, man, if you've lived in Vietnam here already, are currently residing here, or if you're thinking about it in the future and just sort of doing your research. Yeah, if you could let me know, that would be great. Then I could make sure to, again, give tips that are appropriate for you and that kind of thing. But anyway, yeah, so I'll be writing with Tail City here, and that means writing about Vietnam and writing about Hue City, such that folks can travel here and then just listen to stories, figure out what they really want to see and what they want to do out here. So I'm really excited about that. I enjoy giving tours, but taking advantage of technology these days and being able to, yeah, do the tour once more or less in a professional manner, such that folks can listen to it over and over again for the next 10 years, I think is just 10 years plus, I think is just a terrific situation. So anyway, that'll be fun. But also I started working at a bar out here, the DMZ bar in particular. So, managing and meeting people. Hey, Peter, good morning, buddy. Hey, I'm glad you're here, Peter, because I know you're living in Hue City. And again, these tips are oriented towards folks who are just coming here. So I really think that you have tons of them. Not only have you joined me for the live stream about finding work out here, but yeah, but along with that, there's tons and tons, like thousands of tips for newbies out here. In fact, I could make a 20-hour live stream. I really could. But obviously, we're going to try to condense it down to the main deals here. And oh, good morning, Henry. Well, good evening for you. I know it's late for you out there in East Coast, but amen to that. 46 days. So Blake, you're about to come out here. Not making it to Vietnam for a few months, though. I have been there before. Got it. And you will be in Vietnam for 2 months. Okay, again, that's just terrific. And I'm glad that you didn't say 2 weeks or something like that. But anyway, well, terrific, gentlemen. And yeah, to give a bit of an idea here, so we all know each other a little bit. Yeah, there we go, Henry. Yeah, Henry's been here a time or two and really wants to make Vietnam his future home. So that's just been terrific. And Henry and I have been focusing on Vietnamese lately, and that's just been a trip. And by the way, Henry and Blake, I was going to say that my buddy Kuang here is a tremendous fella and was one of my first friends that I made here in Vietnam. In fact, he and I corresponded a lot over email before I even got here. So in short, he would be a terrific man to know and is just full of information. So Yeah, Kuang is a champion, and to this day, heck, 5, 6 years later, we're still best buddies. So, anyway, also, Kuang did a terrific job of helping me out with Vietnamese in the beginning because he was with me before I spoke my first word and has been with me the whole journey. So that's been really helpful as well, including slang expressions or what have you. But anyway, in short, life has been going great out here. There's infinite opportunities, gentlemen, infinite opportunities. And I did want to point out that these days I say no to way over half of the opportunities that come my way. Just because there's only one of me. And I point that out because this is the land of opportunity, big time. Big time, if you go about it in the right way and if your mind is in the right space. So again, that's really the big idea of today's live stream, is to help folks get to that point. Because even though my life and a lot of other folks' lives are wonderful out here, it's very possible to be the opposite. What that means is it's very possible to have a shit time. It really is. It's possible to remain unemployed. It's possible to be friendless. It's possible to learn nothing from this country. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Maybe as a metaphor, I could say taking a motorbike across the country of Vietnam in general is a terrific plan, and I recommend it to everybody. Oh, yes. It's let me back up. I don't recommend it to everybody, but for the right person, I think it's a terrific idea. If you just look at photos of folks on Instagram or watch YouTube videos and drone footage only, and then assume that's what your trip is going to be like, and it's as easy as the photos look and videos are, you're going to be in for a huge shock your first 5 hours into it when it's ridiculously uncomfortable, your skin is sunburnt, and your bike just broke down. Right. There's a lot of stuff you got to know before you depart on this trip. Notwithstanding, it's harder than you think. There's more to it than you think. There's more details than you think. And is it possible to go in totally blind? Sure, I suppose, but that's not really the point. The point is how to have the best possible experience. So, basically, as a good starting point here, I did want to say that when I was 17, I moved to South America, specifically Lima, Peru, and lived there for, let's say, starting off as a summer. And basically, there was a 2-week mission trip, so to speak, in late August. But I decided to show up 2.5 months early, myself, alone. Cool. Now, the interesting thing was that I spent my time purely speaking Spanish, no English. I shut off all English TV, English input. I didn't even talk to people that spoke English. Certainly didn't teach it, didn't even read it. And I wanted to see how quickly I could go from thinking, speaking, and going about my life in English to purely thinking, speaking, and going about my life in Spanish. The answer was 3 weeks. That wasn't an accident. Okay, that was very purposeful mental focus on just integrating into, of course, Spanish, and of course the language, and ultimately the life there. So, needless to say, I had 0 expat friends and 0 English-speaking friends. Purely 100% Spanish-speaking Peruvians. Yes, it did happen that like 3-4 weeks into my trip, folks are like, "How long have you been here?" Obviously in Spanish. And then I respond, "Oh yeah, less than a month." And they are just absolutely flabbergasted. Like, "Wow, you sound like maybe not a native speaker, but darn close. You know our slang, you know our lifestyle, you know how we roll. You dress like us, look like us. I thought you lived here for years." Right. That wasn't an accident. When the other group, the mission trip that is, arrived at said orphanage in Peru, late August, and I met up with them, They were also completely flabbergasted. Wow, you're fluent in Spanish? You know pretty much everything that's going on here. You met every single man, woman, and child, and every single person at the orphanage. You know all the neighbors. You know all the folks dropping by, the local foods. You know all this stuff. Oh my God. They didn't even know like what the capital of the country was, let alone who the president was, let alone what the common foods are, and spoke zero Spanish. Right. And after their 2-week missions trip, they actually spoke to zero of the kids because language, and made zero extra friends with anybody, and effectively just kind of posed for some photos, ate with some kids while being translated for, played some soccer here and there, and otherwise hung out with the other expats on said mission trip, and then went home. That's cool. I'm not judging. I'm glad they came, and for a lot of them, it's remained a life-changing experience. So be it. Fact remains, I would say you guys really missed 90% of the reason for coming here in the first place. And this experience could have been 10 times better if you would have gone about it in another way. So anyway, let's kind of focus down into the main points here. What I mean by that is the main points I'm going to hit over and over again during this live stream when it comes to moving in, okay? Nice and tightly summarized right here as quickly as I can. Number one is my buddy Tim Kim Sa, a very nice fella. We've been met online and we've been chatting for a while here, and he's been living in Vietnam for a while. He brought up a terrific point, and that is research, and get as much research in from as many sources as you can. And I think that's a very key point. So I really appreciate his insight there. What that means is if your only source of information is the expat forums, and that's it, that's the only place where you ask for information and nowhere else, you're only getting a tiny slice of the truth. Similarly, if you just look on TripAdvisor or something like that, or expat blogs and stuff like that, they're not wrong, but you're getting a tiny slice of the truth. Even looking on Wikipedia doesn't give you the full picture. Even if you sit around and talk with Vietnamese people in Vietnamese, here in this case, you know, they're correct too, but you're still only getting a slice and one perspective of the world. So what that really means is the important idea is to, yes, use the Facebook forums. Great. Use Google. Yes. Use TripAdvisor. Listen to the other blogs. Watch other YouTube videos. Ask folks, expats that are living here. Sure. And ask local folks that are living here. When you need legal advice, set foot in a Vietnamese office of some kind. Yeah. Talk with your coffee people. Talk with everybody that you can find. The issue is when you pigeonhole your way into getting advice from only one source. So that is a major, major key. That's a major, major key. Now, y'all are smart people, so you probably intuitively get that already, but do it. Do it. Okay, another key point I'm going to hit over and over and over again is the language. The language. Knowing basic Vietnamese. Yeah, and we'll just say basic Vietnamese. You don't need the whole language, but damn it. If you've been teaching kids all the colors for like 3 years here in Vietnam, and after 3 years, you don't know the colors in Vietnamese, that's embarrassing, my friend. That is embarrassing. I mean, it takes 20 minutes after all. And you spent 4 years and couldn't cough up 20 minutes to learn the one topic that you've been teaching, focusing on, and otherwise earning money off of for the last 4 years. That's embarrassing. You're a fool. But more than that, if you're here for a number of years and can't call a taxi, can't even explain your own address, and you can barely order a cup of coffee, that's also embarrassing. If you can't go shopping or whatever the case is. Oh, and you have zero Vietnamese friends of any kind, yikes. Think about that. So yes, learning the language is major. It's huge. It's absolutely huge. And we'll touch on that a little more later. Another big one. Stay out of the bubble. What that means is don't pigeonhole yourself into one crew. Hong Kong, the point is you have to know how people meow here. Thank you, Kung. That's right. Because, and we'll when we're saying get out of the bubble and socialize, what that really means is don't just, talk with expats in your expat neighborhood, speak English 100% of your day. All of your roommates are, expats. You go to expat bars in the expat neighborhood and do that only. That's a shame. You're only seeing a tiny shred, a tiny 2% fraction of what this country really has to offer and what your experience actually ultimately could be. So yes, to your point there, Kung, Nhau, yeah, go out eating and drinking with Vietnamese people. There it is. There it is. And we're going to get to that, in a little more detail. But I'm going to start off with this one right here. Yeah. These are, I put this together, this YouTube video here. The title is something along the lines of the top 10 words you need to party in Vietnam. Now, you may think to yourself, oh, well, I'm not going to spend all my time partying, so I don't need that. Well, come on. They include things like, hello, my name is, eat, drink. Plan on doing that? Plan on introducing yourself? Sure. Thank you. That's pretty handy to know. And the word go, let's just say, cheers. Gonna need that. But yeah, the basic ones. If you knew this list and nothing else, you could actually go and Nhau, and you could Nhau, party, hang out, have dinner with, go to a wedding, let's just say, with Vietnamese people, and you could crush it. Just knowing this only. And it's not very long, 10, 15 minutes, you got it figured out. So yeah, this is a huge one when it comes to meeting up with, again, local folks and starting to build a social network out here. Now, the other main point that I want to hit home that is applicable to everybody, and that is take your time. Take your time. Take your time. To say that a different way, there's a lot of folks when I'm nosing around forums online or, whether that's Reddit or Facebook or whatever the heck else. A lot of folks have the attitude, I don't have any startup money of any kind. I have no cushion money. I need to have a job waiting for me the day that I land. Oh, yeah. And so I'm going to actually look around on only Facebook and try to find a school that has all my credentials or that requires all my credentials, and then otherwise sign a contract before the plane even lands and sign away a year of my life with them because I need to get started right away. I want to have a job right away. That's more secure, isn't it? Oh, that's smarter, isn't it? I mean, on the surface, it makes sense, but in reality, that's absurd, and that's a foolish plan. That's foolish. Take your time. Take your time. It takes time to get used to things out here, getting used to the language, getting used to the food, getting used to the holidays, your daily schedule, jet lag. I mean, that's to say nothing of work environments, people that you're going to be hanging with on a regular basis. The list goes on and on and on, finding a house, finding property, whatever the case is. So this isn't a race to see how fast you can find a house, meet 20 expat friends, and get a job. I did all that in 3 days. You didn't really win, my friend. You didn't really win. It feels like you did. It feels like you're a smart person. But in reality, you're missing out. And your mind isn't open enough to be able to get the whole... Let me rephrase. Your mind could be more open and your experience could be richer if you would just take your goddamn time and relax. So anyway, it's kind of the general overview here that we're going to be working with. So let's get into it. And as usual, any of y'all are welcome to fire away any questions y'all might have. And I'd be glad to jump on those. So, yep. Yes, it is 9 a.m. and yes, I am crushing a couple beers. But that's part of the fun. Alrighty. Anyway, let's get after it. So, the very beginning here, I would say, again, we'll start with the time thing and patience. Plan on at least minimum a week, minimum 1 week adjustment period when you first get here to Vietnam. In other words, don't plan anything huge your first week of getting here. Don't plan on starting work immediately. If you're coming here to get married, let's just say, which is a terrific situation, choice, etc. That's all great, fine and dandy. But don't like get off the plane on Monday and then expect to be like married by Wednesday. That's ridiculous. Similarly, don't plan on arriving on a Monday and then being fully employed, by Thursday or something like that. That's also equally as ridiculous. If you plan on being here for a year or better, shoot, maybe at that point you should consider like 3 weeks to a month where you're not necessarily looking for work. You're not pushed. You're not rushed. Your time isn't already soaked up and spoken for, before you get here. With that month, you can use it to build your social network, build a list of friends, get used to the lifestyle out here, and ultimately build a schedule and a life for yourself that you can really enjoy. So, big point: have that initial adjustment period. Okay, give yourself some time. Now, what that also implies is you've got to come here with some startup cash. Of course. The more the merrier, as usual. Yes, thank you, Kung. You go around and see and talk to people. Yeah, Dequan. Yeah. Go around and meet people. That's right. Again, make as many friends as you can. When you're working, 40 hours a week and you already have your job and routine all set up with one given company, let's just say, well, shoot, you don't have enough free time to go and do what you want and or meet other people and that kind of thing. And it's going to start to pigeonhole you into one way of life. So, but yes, again, startup cash. To come here with very little startup cash or just enough for, 1 month or just $1,000 American dollars, let's say, is foolish. That is foolish because you're going to make decisions and go about your life in a way that is, you have to chase money as fast as possible. You have to say yes to opportunities that are cash money now today, starting bonus. It doesn't give you time to, or it doesn't give you the ability to just take a month to relax. It doesn't give you the ability to go around, see and talk to people and di nhau, with Vietnamese people and make friends. Nope. You don't have time. You got to get that money. Go. So in other words, if you come here with without startup cash, you're effectively going right back to work immediately once upon getting here. You're missing the point of changing your life and changing perhaps hemispheres, time zones, countries, and worlds, aren't you? Now, I did want to point out there is this expression that I got to admit I hate the most. Okay, it goes like this: YOLO. And even though it's true, you only live once. It's philosophically speaking a tautology, which means it's true because it's true. Well, yeah, duh. By definition, we all live this way. It's not a remarkable statement. Okay, YOLO. Look how smart and trendy and hip I am. YOLO. Yeah, because a lot of folks actually misuse this idea in a weird way. It sounds like this. Oh, I'm not even going to check over my motorbike. I'm about to take a trip across Vietnam, and I'm going to climb all these mountains. But you know what? Hey, I'm not going to change my chain. I'm not going to do this because if I do break down, and it's 10 p.m. and we got to push it up a hill for the next 4 hours. It'll be a fun story to tell when I get home. YOLO. Okay, you're an idiot. Absolute idiot. Actually, no, the story won't be fun at all. People are going to think you're an idiot, or they should. And 4 hours overnight pushing uphill is the opposite of fun. It's way more fun to go, I don't know, canyoning, climbing a mountains, go to flower gardens. Heck, take a horse carriage. I don't know. There's all kinds of things you could do that are way more fun and interesting than, yeah, we push this up a hill for 4 hours. YOLO. Similarly, we're going to Vietnam. We don't have a plan. We're just going to go and kind of figure it out once we get there. YOLO. You're an idiot. Don't do this. Don't have this whole like hipster, what the hell ever YOLO lifestyle. I see this most often when folks are just traveling on a short trip here through Vietnam. And, perhaps they watched a few YouTube videos, checked some Facebook stuff, and feel like they have a solid handle on life out here, and they don't. And ultimately are just like, yeah, we'll figure it all out when we get there. Right. Perhaps their life leading up to then has always been easy. They've had everything gift wrapped and handed to them. And they're not looking for an in-depth experience, but rather just a quick overview. Oh, we're going to go to 14 cities in 14 days. YOLO! Don't be a fool. Smart people, I don't think I've ever said YOLO before. But ridiculously dumb girls on vacay I say it 10 times a day. I don't know. I'm not judging. I'm just saying don't do that. Now, moving forward. Look, you've got to be able to create a new lifestyle and a new schedule and a new routine. So effectively, you're starting off with a clean slate out here. What that means is, and like in my own case, in my previous life in America, I was a salesman. So I have I wake up at this time, let's say 7. I have my coffee, by 7:30. Great. I'm really worth the damn after I get my emails and work done by, let's say, 8. Then I get my drive in, listen to my podcast, get done with the day at about 9, go to the gym by 9:30, out of the gym by 10:30, 11, then have my meditative ride home, and then get into bed by midnight, call it a day. Great. And that's rinse and repeat. So that's my routine, and I'm happy with that. Obviously, coming over to Vietnam, throw all that, every single thing out the window, all of it, every piece. We're starting over with a clean slate. So let's acknowledge that. So that comes everything, including wake up and go to bedtime, obviously are thrown in the air. When do you go to the gym if that's your thing? How else do you exercise or get fit? What time of the day does that get done? New routine. When do you have coffee, if any? Do you have milk in it? Do you have 3 cups or 2? Do you make your own? Do you have an energy drink? What do you have for breakfast? Oh, you're used to cereal and pancakes and bacon? Throw that out the window. That ain't going to happen. No way. Well, it shouldn't. You're probably going to have a bowl of soup, more than likely. A banh mi sandwich, perhaps. Sure. What are you going to do to gainfully make money? When are you going to be hanging out with your friends? Maybe in your home country, you don't really hang out with anybody. You just go about your work, go home, watch Netflix, watch TV, go back to work, Netflix, TV, drive back and forth. Great. And then on the weekend, you go and get tanked with your friends. More power to you. You do you. But throw that all out the window. You're here in Vietnam all of a sudden, and effectively, every day is a weekend, and every day is a weekday. Are you the kind of person that wants to sleep until noon every day and then wants to go out and party every single night? Go right ahead if that's your goal. But for a lot of people, their first time here in Vietnam, they're not used to this degree of freedom. What that means is, if you do it right, you come here with a month on your hands and plenty of time to work with. Then money and time to work with. Again, you get to create the lifestyle that you want to create for yourself. That's beautiful. For many people, it's the first time in their life they're fully in control of how they want to create their lifestyle and create their life. Take advantage of this. What that means is take this as an opportunity to become the best person you can become. You're going to be starting a dozen new habits anyway. You might as well do a full makeover on your whole life while you're at it. In other words, if you used to be a TV watcher who's never really worked out in their life and hasn't really studied anything, great. Take this as an opportunity to fit a gym thing or a fitness thing every single day. Study Vietnamese every single morning. When you have a cup of coffee, don't just choke it down in your car on your way to work. No, sit at a coffee shop for 3 hours and talk with people left and right. Right. Just build a new set of habits. So while we're on the topic, in my own case here in Vietnam, my first month, I lived in a Vietnamese neighborhood. So in Nguyen Lo Chak Street, awesome place. And I spent my afternoons volunteering with the TTM school and yes, hanging out with Kuang, which is terrific. But as an example, my morning deal was, 2 hours outside of my place playing Chinese chess, commander chess, and sipping on coffee and talking in Vietnamese with neighbors, passing by. Yep, that's my morning. Then I go and hang out in the fruit market for a half hour, and sit and talk with my fruit ladies. After that, go out and have this kind of convenience store. I went there every single day. And I got like one smoke, one beer, and sometimes a snack or something like that. And I chatted with a woman there like at an hour every day. Yep. And I bicycled around for the most part, for the first year. So or the first few months. So as a result, I'm starting to build up a life that includes socializing in the morning, meeting all these people here, meeting these people, meeting these people, meeting these people, bicycling from this place to this place to this place. In other words, from the moment I wake up at 6, 7 in the morning until noon, my morning's sort of, I don't want to say spoken for, but I've got my, again, sort of routine, a kind of an idea. So, to wit, I'm actually speaking Vietnamese for the first 5 hours of my day, no matter what. No matter what. So, it's not like I got to make time for it or force myself to go. It's just that's the routine and lifestyle that I established upon first getting here from the beginning. So, to do anything else would take effort. So, again, the big idea here is build up a schedule and a lifestyle and a series of habits that makes sense and are ideal for you and for your goals and what you really want to happen. So same thing like Henry, for example. And my advice to you, brother, you're coming to live in Hanoi here this summer. That's absolutely terrific. Obviously, here again, this is all going to come up. What do you want your day to look like? What do you want in your life, and what don't you want in your life? If you want to come here and avoid sugar and lose weight, great. If you want to break the habit of watching American football and spending 2 hours a day on Netflix, hey, great chance to do so. If you want to spend your time learning the language and integrating into the culture, well, again, coffee, bars, food places are a great start. So anyway, set up your initial schedule in a way that would make sense. Okay. Next. Pour a little more, get some ice. So there's something here too that I really want to focus on. And that is the classic expat bubble. Okay. The expat bubble. Okay. Now, I don't want to sound negative against this, okay? Because after all, I'm an expat, and a lot of you guys are expats, all right? That's cool. That's totally cool. Nothing against that. Now, it's the bubble part where things start to get a little dicey. So let me just explain how this works for more than 90% of folks, okay? It works like this. New to Vietnam, never really been there before, checked a bunch of, did some homework, looked on YouTube, this and that, did my, Facebook research, called a few friends that already lived there, that kind of thing, ... Okay. Now, again, mind you, almost all these pieces of advice are from expats that are living here. So right when you land in, let's just say Saigon or Hanoi, whatever, but let's say Saigon just for illustrative purposes. What do really smart people do? Super smart, the smartest people do. Well, go onto the expat forums and, hey, everybody, I'm new to the city. I want to hang out with some folks. That makes tons of sense. Get some tips from people that are otherwise living here. Cool. In fact, you're going to get a lot of them. I need a place to live. Check the expat forum. Oh, okay. Here's the expat neighborhood. Oh, well, that's terrific. That'll work great. What do smart people do? Cool. So all of this sounds great, on the front end. I want to find a job. Well, let's check the expat forums and ask my other expat friends, how do I go about this? You know what? They're going to give you some great answers, and they're going to be tremendously helpful, and they're going to be super friendly, and there's going to be infinite number of them to hang out with. Cool. Hey, let's get involved in some sort of social circle of some kind. Well, let's see. There is a expat beer brewing group. Well, let's join that. There's a game night group. Wow, let's join that. There's young entrepreneurs and digital nomad group. Well, let's join that. What do smart people do? This is great. These are all smart ideas. Okay, they're all smart ideas. So far, so good. Now, that by itself isn't the problem. The problem is 1 month into this, 2 months into this, you take a look around. 100% of your friends are expats. Look at that. 100% of your neighbors are expats. Yeah, and your roommates are all expats. Uh-huh. And where do you go and get coffee? Well, at the coffee shop filled with expats. Look at that. You want to go out for the weekend? Who do you go with? Well, all the expat friends that you made. You know 100 expats that live here by name, and you're good friends and good buddies with them, and you've never met a Vietnamese person, have you? Yep. You haven't spent a minute learning Vietnamese and you can't count to 10. Nope, because you've never actually talked with a Vietnamese person. Not really. I mean, you like waved at them, pantomimed, nodded, smiled, smirked? Sure, fine. But when you're sitting in this situation, you look around, that's what I mean. You find yourself magically in the bubble. That means you can't really communicate with Vietnamese people in Vietnamese in a normal way. Nope. And you can't really integrate in a normal way, into Vietnam. And you've all of a sudden set yourself up and pigeonholed your world into one way of thinking, because in your own direct firsthand experience, this is what everybody does, according to you, according to what you saw. Yeah, nobody learns Vietnamese because, according to you and according to the people that you hang out with, 0 out of 100 have tried. Right. You wouldn't want to live in a Vietnamese neighborhood because you've never met anybody who's done that. Right. The only jobs you have are the ones that all other expats take. Right. You have never once meowed with a bunch of Vietnamese people. Never once. Because none of the people you met ever have. Right. So you're like unable to communicate with the world, with Vietnam and Vietnamese, and they're unable to communicate with you. There's an invisible wall between you. You can look at them, they can look at you, but you can't communicate. That's the bubble. Okay. Now, I don't judge folks for falling into that. However, I'm just pointing out this is totally natural. This is what normal people, especially smart people, when they go to Vietnam, this is exactly verbatim, point, exactly how it works out more than 90% of the time. And are they going to survive? Sure. Are they going to have a pretty good life in terms of money? Yep. Are they going to be able to make it out here? Sure. Are they going to be happy? Yeah. That's the thing. It's so comfortable. That's actually the most comfortable, easiest, and least effort way of going about it. That's why more than 90% of folks live in the bubble. And again, I don't judge folks or look down on them or anything like that. I get it. But they have no idea what life is actually like. They have no idea how cool Vietnamese people actually are. They've never actually learned the language. They don't know how, they don't acknowledge how easy the language actually is to learn. And they don't have as rich of an experience as they possibly could. Not by a long shot, because they can't even conceive of a life any different than what they've noticed for the first month. And if that happens with a person for their first month or two, they're going to be so comfortable and complacent in it, they're fucked. You can't go do anything else after that. That's the habit that's been established. Fast forward 3 years, 0 Vietnamese friends, can't call a cab, can't even count to 10, can't shop in the market, uncomfortable when surrounded by Vietnamese people, can't sing a song, can't even, yep, expat bubble. So anyway, don't do that. Your point, Kung. So you should live in your country. I know what you mean by what you're trying to get at there, Kung. Now, I do want to say, again, no judgments. So if a person does do that, the expat bubble thing, I mean, more power to you. If you're a good person and you treat people right and, you're a good citizen, world citizen, and, and stuff like that, so be it. Okay. There's a lot of folks who live in America, for that matter. There's a lot of Vietnamese people that move to America, let's just say, never learn English, never meet a single other American person. Yep. They get escorted and have their children and or friends or neighbors translate on their behalf for everything. Banking. Yep. Well, I got to bring my son. Oh, I want to go to get my driver's license. Well, I need my wife, my neighbor, and these kids to all help me with everything. Oh, I want to go grocery shopping. Oh my God, I need to have an escort to go with me. I mean, you're effectively at the level of an infant. at that point. Now, if a person were to move to America and then 20 years later can't even speak English, yeah, what's their life going to be like? Well, they have a factory job at best. Uh, mm, and then they go home and sit and watch Korean dramas that are subtitled. I mean, more power to you, but your life kind of sucks, and people don't really respect you because, well, you're living in a bubble and are deaf, mute, and illiterate. That happens all the time. But I wouldn't say to those folks, get out of my country, go back to Vietnam. Whatever. If you want to do it and you're a good citizen, I mean, that's you, man. But your experience is like 1% as cool as it could be, So again, I'm going to keep saying this. No. Whew. So, given that idea, what are some other broader things to consider? Well, food. Let's go there. A lot of folks, needless to say, Vietnamese food is different than Western food. In fact, in my own personal perspective, experience, opinion, Vietnamese food is better than American food. That might sound controversial, but that's my opinion. It's healthier, it's cheaper, it's faster to get, it's way more convenient, way more delicious. A breakfast bowl of soup versus, pancakes and bacon. I'll take the soup. Again, I'm used to it. Fresh fruit, over brunch. Yep. Beer over breakfast in my case. I think that's terrific. Now, a lot of folks do actually get accustomed to Vietnamese food, and it becomes their favorite as well. More power to them. Again, your life is going to be a lot better the more you have, the more you line up your diet with that of everyone else around. Well, other Vietnamese people around you. Now, the trouble is, once again, a lot of people, come here and do lose weight and get a lot healthier and, and so forth. A lot of folks do the opposite. What that means is, get here, it's like, oh my God, all I need, they have like one bowl of soup and a couple plates of food of Vietnamese stuff. And then all of a sudden, like, I just need to have at least one burger to remind me of home. The nostalgia. Great. Oh, that was good. All right. Well, a few days later, let's grab another one of them. And I mean, you got to have a pizza every now and then. And shoot, I've always had fried chicken on Fridays when I'm home, so I might as well have fried chicken here, Next thing you know, every day you're getting a pizza delivered to your house or you're, polish off a whole family bucket of chicken from KFC, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of folks who actually come here and gain weight. They eat more fast food than they've ever had, as a percentage in their life. Because they're used to what they have at home. And this becomes especially true if, once again, 100% of your friends are expats that are also eating pizza and hamburgers and blah, 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 and having Western food. Well, yeah, you're going to become that. You're missing the point. You're missing how wonderful this life could be. So it sounds bizarre, but I would say disregard all food from home completely. You may as well just disregard all of it and live like a Vietnamese person. To be sure, it takes a while for your body to adjust. What that means is your gut system, etc. It takes some time to get used to Vietnamese food, get used to vegetarian living, let's just say, getting used to having rice as your primary carb, let's just say. That does take some time. And one way or another, you got to give yourself a few weeks or a month to at least to get used to it. There's some folks who just come here and have one or two bowls and they're like, well, it doesn't sit right with me in the morning. I just don't feel as full when I sit and have noodles and beef versus when I have pancakes and eggs. Okay, I get that. Totally get that. Give it a month. Okay, you've got to give yourself some time. So, as a quick example, I met a lovely gal who down at the hostels downtown, and she is a hostel worker and stuff like that. Great, more power to her. She's been here for 3-4 years. Great, and a nice gal. With that said, she tried Vietnamese food here and there for the first week. half-assed and didn't like it so much. So she switched back to 100% Western food. 100%. 100%. Yep. Mouth hasn't touched any cum or rice in the last, few years. Hey, not judging, but I'm just saying that's a trap. That's a huge trap. Why is that bad? Well, in my personal opinion, it's not as healthy, to have Vietnamese fast food all the time. More to the point, it's more expensive by a long shot. If I can have a bowl of soup for 10,000, or I can get a pizza for 150,000, it's 15 times less to have a bowl of soup. I mean, that's real. That's totally real. So, acknowledging that fact, take some time to adjust yourself to the food. Now, Kuang, buddy, you and I were we just for fun bantering, but Kuang, you and I, buddy, I remember you talking about like, oh, I don't really like American food or whatever. I remember being offended at the time, but the thing is, you haven't had the good stuff yet, So that maybe that would be an example in your own case, Kuang, like you haven't really had much American food before, so you're not really used to it. So it might either seem weird, bizarre, you don't feel full, or you feel kind of like sick or something. I don't know. Or you just have low quality stuff and you don't know what the good stuff tastes like. That can happen. So as a result, in your own experience, in your own experience, you kind of disregarded it to a certain degree. That's cool. I get it. But when you have the good stuff, then you start to maybe change your mind and integrate and have a little of both. Cool. Peter, for the price of one Western meal, you could feed yourself for a day with Vietnamese food. Oh, and then some. Yeah. And then some. Mm-hmm. But anyway, oh no, and I just bring that up, Kung, by the way, just because that's a perfect metaphor and a perfect example. I've had a lot of Western folks on the opposite side where they try a little Asian food here, a little there, and they're like, I don't know, and then never really get into it. But if they have someone actually hold them by the hand and show the good stuff, then they're like, I get it now. This is actually great. I could make a life out of this. Right. So anyway, it's a perfect metaphor and example, Kung. That's why I bring it up, buddy. Yeah, but so anyway, getting used to the food and getting used to the changes. Now, you don't have to completely disregard your home country. For example, in my own case, I'll take some sausage if it's on the table. Hell yeah. I'll in terms of, let's say, having a burger, sure. For me, it's like once every 3 months or something like that. Or, a pizza, for example, I won't say no to it at all. I mean, come on, it's good stuff. But I won't order one. Oh, no. If I'm sitting around by myself, no. It's probably once every 3 months, that I have a slice. Oh, and I love every bite of it. Don't get me wrong. It's all good stuff. But you've got to be able to change your mind and change your attitude in this regard. Okay, so Blake, just talking about this makes me miss Asian markets in general, actually. Right. Yeah, again, hoo-wee. I love that aspect of it. And half the reason I spent my mornings with the fruit ladies, in the market for like an hour is because, I bought a bunch of fruit. We just sit there and chit-chat with them. Yeah. Okay, and while we're on the topic here too, the things to get used to, the money, okay, and spending habits and stuff like that. I do have another live stream that is all about money, budgets, and things like that. You can find it on my channel if you look around a little bit. But this is actually a really key point. What I mean by that is a lot of folks, for example, if you're coming from Australia, let's just say, you think to yourself, oh my gosh, well, one beer is $5 or $10 or something like that. All right, well, so I come to Vietnam and it's only $2. Oh, well, that's terrific. All right, then I guess I can have as many beers as I want because compared to home, it's pretty cheap. Well, home in Australia, meals are $10 to $20 a piece, but here they're only $5. Oh, okay. Well, that's doing pretty good. And look, my other expat friends around me, buy beer after beer after beer after beer and eat at these restaurants. Oh, okay. Well, so far so good. Ta-da! That becomes your habit. That becomes how you live. And there's nothing directly wrong with that, except that becomes your habit and lifestyle. Right. And you miss the point. You miss the point that one Huda beer is actually less than 50 cents. Well, maybe 50 Aussie cents. I think you're right there, Clun. It's about 8,000 or 9,000, which means it's actually like 40 cents or 40, 50 cents. So if you come here and just jump into this first habit, compare money to what you're spending at home, you're going to think you're getting a good deal, and you're just going to miss the point that it could be half or a third or a tenth of what you're just paying because you're on this day one thing, right? Similarly, if a lot of folks who arrive in, let's just say, Saigon, might go to District 1 on their initial trip to Vietnam because they're smart, because that's a good idea, because there's a lot of good reasons to do so, which, as many of you might know, is kind of the expatty, party downtown, of Saigon. I love that area, by the way. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you go there for your first couple of weeks, and it's going to start to build habits in your mind, you're going to start to get used to, oh, well, it's 70,000 for a microbrew. I like microbrew. That's cheaper than my home country, and they got a nice variety down here. All right, well, I guess I'm going to do that every day over and over for the next 4 years. There's a lot of people that party until 2 a.m. Well, I guess that's a thing out here. So you do that your first week every day. Okay. And then that starts to build habits in your mind, and that becomes your lifestyle. Oh, I just speak English with everybody out here, and all the other Vietnamese people just speak English with me. So I 100% speak English whenever I'm partying and hang out with other partiers and people traveling out here. And that becomes your habit for over and over again. So there's nothing wrong with going to the expat area, but if you mentally pigeonhole yourself into that way of thinking, that those price points, you're going to be stuck with that. That style of partying, you're going to be stuck with that. The drinks and food that are available down there, you're going to be stuck with that. So it's very important when you first get here to be very careful with how you're spending time and what habits you're initially building for yourself and for others. Or not for others, but your interaction with others. So, initial stuff. Okay, so other changing the subject a little bit. Researching and knowing about Vietnam in terms of general knowledge, okay? And I'm going to write this. Okay, this is going to sound so simple. It's going to sound so simple. But holidays, okay? I mean, why would I bring this up on an initial blah, blah, blah? Well, look. Think about it. Think about it. First point. How long would it take for you to Google right now list of holidays in Vietnam with clickable links explaining each one of them? How long would it take? I bet Google, once you type it in, will probably find 0.002 seconds, find you the full list. Right. Wouldn't that be nice to know? Wouldn't it be nice to know that it's International Women's Day? When is Teacher's Day? Huh? Okay, those are some simple examples. But, what's wild is I'll actually run across folks out here who expats who come here, don't even know that it's Tet or what Tet is. I mean, that's on par with, imagine a foreigner coming to America, flabbergasted that there's trees and Christmas lights everywhere. And like, what are people doing shopping? And what are all these boxes that are covered in flashy paper and ribbons? I have no idea what that is. Oh, the New Year's and there's fireworks. Why is there fireworks tonight? Well, that's kind of dumb. In my country, we don't have that. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. You'd kind of think they're a fool, wouldn't you? Right. So it's important to really know what the holidays are out here and be prepared in that regard for, the goings on, because that is sort of the culture, isn't it? Some key examples include, the obvious practical ones: Student Day, Teacher Day, Women's Day. And yes, the obvious one is Tet holiday. But it's important to know when Tet holiday is, by all means. But you might as well know a little more than that. For example, when people say Mong Hai, Mong Ba, Mong Tu, Mong Zhao, well, that means like first day of the New Year's in the Chinese calendar, second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day, etc. Well, that's worth knowing. I mean, I didn't know that when I first got here. I didn't bother looking it up because I was a fool. And I got surprised by that. That's worth knowing. Hugely, hugely. While we're on the topic, it's worth knowing that they have 2 calendars out here. How does that work? Well, research it. If you just type it into Google right now, calendars in Vietnam, you're probably going to find it. Oh, yeah. How does that work? How does it line it up? I mean, for that matter, they've got little Chinese calendar to Gregorian calendar conversion tables, if you're so inclined. Things that are also important, you're going to notice, like, let's say twice a month, it's going to be Vegetarian Day in Vietnam. What days are that? When is the next one? That's worth knowing. If you go out for Boon Ball and your Boon Ball place is closed and you're the one who's surprised, it's Vegetarian Day. Come on, everybody knows that except you and the other expats who've never looked it up. So it's a little bit absurd to be unaware of what the holidays are and otherwise have no idea what's really going on as far as that's concerned. So all of these are extremely easy to research with just a little pinch of time, and a little elbow grease. So other examples also include the flags. Well, if they've got a flag that's black and white flag, what does that mean? Funeral. If they've got a flag that's somewhat rainbowy, it's got your orange and blue and red and yellow, etc. It's not a pride flag, folks. No, that's the Buddhist flag. I see. What do the flags look like? Just type it in. Flags in Vietnam. There you go. Done. That's pretty easy to pull off. What are the vacation days that people normally take? That's worth knowing. But do as much research as you can on these details like this, because it obviously, you understand what's going on, obviously, but you're also going to be prepared in a practical sense for, like, oh, this is reunification weekend, which is to say, like, the equivalent of 4th of July in America. Oh, and it's going to be a 4-day weekend. So a bunch of stores are going to be closed. And in the case of Hue, that means there's going to be another 200,000 tourists that are going to pour into Hue for 4 days. And Hot Air Balloon Festival, along with Aoyai Festival, Art Festival, Kayaking Festival. That's worth knowing. That's definitely worth knowing before you get out here, for sure. For sure. Easily researchable. Just type it into Google. What's going on this month? What's coming up? I tell you, if you're able to go into places and otherwise, like, happy reunification day, folks, or ask people, what are you going to do for reunification holiday? They're going to be impressed because you're smart and you're not a fool. So, knowing the holidays and knowing these details is a huge practical thing and a fun thing, but mostly it's enjoyable. It's just enjoyable to understand what the country has and what it offers. And yes, I did get involved with a discussion with the gentleman who is going to be leaving Vietnam soon. He was here in Vietnam for 3 years teaching. But man, I asked him a few simple questions about Vietnam, like, oh, you're a teacher and you've been teaching at a school. Oh, okay, that's great. So what's the word teacher in Vietnamese? Don't know. What's the word teach? What's the word student? What's the word school? Don't know. Okay. When is Tet? No idea. Okay. There's 2 more holidays coming up this summer. What are they? No idea. Okay. Shoot. You get the idea. Super simple questions. How many states are in Vietnam? No idea. The list goes on and on. And I think, brother, you probably enjoyed yourself over the last 3 years. And folks are going to applaud you once you go home and tell you about how cultured of a person you are. More power to you. But, but are you really? So, oh, and by the way, Peter, Friday there was a holiday where people eat duck for good luck, but couldn't find much info on it. Do you perhaps know? Well, that'd be a Kuhn question. I bet he could explain it, even better yet. Maybe it's the equivalent of like eating turkey on Thanksgiving. Yep. And Kuhn, we don't have vegan days somewhere. Okay, sure. Mm-hmm. But yeah, certainly vegetarian days. And that kind of thing. So anyway, researching holidays and knowing what all this kind of stuff is a really big deal. But yeah, Google is your friend. Wikipedia is your friend. Look into everything you can as often as possible. And this might sound like simple advice here, but like even something so simple as when you're looking at street signs, the street that you live on, let's just say, what's the history of, what's Pham Lao? What is Hai Ba Chung? What is Bo Ti Shao? Who that was a girl. Who is she? Bakdang River. What is that? It doesn't take much effort. You just sit there, look it up, type, and find it on Wikipedia. Take you 5 minutes, and then isn't that something? Neat. And it makes the world a beautiful or a richer experience. I guess is another way to say it. So know as much as you can about the religion. And I was going to mention, Peter, you're doing great right now. Just ask local folks that are already living here, ideally in Vietnamese, but whoever you can. And they'll many times be able to explain it. And if a Vietnamese person is not able to explain it to you, or has no idea what you're talking about, or doesn't know about said holiday, well, that's good to know too. Even the locals don't know, that kind of thing. So, great. Now, to change the subject a little bit. Ooh, look at this piece of ice. I was going to say, okay, changing the subject. Work and finding jobs out here. Okay, I realize that you gentlemen who are live with me now either already have a job or whatever the case is. And this may not be directly relevant, but in some ways it is. In general, I guess, to talk in general about work, jobs, and so forth. And maybe you all could echo some comments and whatnot. I would say, biggest piece of advice, don't sign a contract and obligate yourself before you set foot in Vietnam. A lot of smart people will think to themselves, hey, having work and a job lined up there in Vietnam will A, save me time from looking. B, it's Peter, 200% agree, yeah. But they think, A, this will save me time, from looking once they get there. B, will provide security, for me once I'm there, as opposed to insecurity. Or C, well, once I have a job, be able to make some money, then I will be able to get established while I am there. And then over time, if I like it, then I could switch jobs and or find a new one, that kind of thing. Now, for these main reasons that they're pointing out, they're not wrong. Actually, that's totally true. By themselves, that's totally true that it is more secure. It is totally true that it is kind of nice to have money right away and some sort of security. Sure. If you stop there, then that's what a lot of folks do, and then that's that. Done. But you're missing the point. When we talk about work, there's other ways of going about it. Now, my recommendation would be, don't look for jobs. I mean, if you do look for jobs online, don't commit to any of them, but get a feel for what are the general opportunities, how much do people generally get paid, what's generally out there. That's cool. You can research that into until the cows come home. But don't sign up, I guess when it comes to jobs, I think it would be very similar to, let's say, online dating, if you want to look at it from that perspective. Online dating is terrific and in a lot of different ways. For that matter, it can help reduce the millions of potential guys or gals out there, or partners out there, down to a nice handy list that you could put on a spreadsheet. And ultimately, you can narrow down who you want to meet and that kind of thing. So, online dating is terrific in general, to use this as a metaphor. Um, hmm, um, and uh, And in fact, it can again help you with this funnel of million opportunities down to top 10. Great. From there, meet them one by one in person. From there, get to know them in person. Terrific. Online dating is a good idea. But if you use that only and meet somebody online only and then nothing else and then marry them online somehow and sign your contracts and otherwise commit the rest of your life to someone you've never really met in person is absurd. That's an absurd plan. Anyone would agree to that. Okay? This is not controversial. This is not arguable. That's obvious. Obvious. So why would you do that with work? Why would you sign a contract with a company you've never met just because you met them online? Huh? If you look around on YouTube and you type in something like negative job experiences in Vietnam, oh yeah, you'll find a good dozen videos. And you'll also notice most of the people on there are fools. I have no idea what they're doing. They signed a contract or they signed up for an IELTS or not IELTS, but TESOL certification, and then ultimately got contracted in with folks, then shipped off to some random city they've never been with no choice. They got a contract hanging over their head and ultimately are pissed off that their life is not what they expected. Right. I bet I could find a dozen people who got married to someone they don't really love, that they just met online and or met briefly over summer, and passions are high. And right. They're very analogous. So, what's the alternative? Well, I would say the alternative is, once again, find a list of opportunities, put them on a spreadsheet if that's your thing, but ultimately do what, my buddy Peter has done. Have a set, of business cards, walk into centers of sorts and shake some hands. Hand out your resume in person. Shake some hands, get to know them. Set up a demo class in person that you're going to demo in person. Cool. Then you can actually see what you're working with. And then you can reasonably decide if it's something that you'd want to do. And it's something that if it's a group of people that you want to work with. Now, a lot of folks have this, and I look forward to your comments here, Peter. A lot of folks have a scarcity mentality. What that means is they believe that there's very, very few opportunities here in Vietnam, so they got to scoop up the one that comes by, because if you miss this one, oh my God, I'm going to be unemployed for the next 6 months and have no idea what I'm doing, and I'm going to get kicked out of the country, and blah, this is all going to be a disaster. That's a scarcity way of thinking about it, and that's misguided. And most importantly, completely not true. In other words, in contrast, if you have an abundance mentality and you realize that, hell, even a Hue City here, which is what, 1/10? No, 1/50th, 1/100th the size of Saigon. There's infinite opportunities. You could probably interview with 3 schools and 3 opportunities a week forever, because about 3 a week open, and at least 3 to 10 new opportunities a week are just magically available. So again, what this means is you don't have to commit to one to save time. Okay, Peter, I declined the first 6 or so offers I received and thought Hue had only about 6 centers. Right. So when you look online, Peter, you might conclude that. In fact, I didn't even know how many centers were in Hue here until I started nosing around. I would have assumed that if you asked me before I got here. Sure. And if theoretically some center offered me a job before I arrived in Vietnam, I would be tempted to be a little bit committal with them, like, oh, keep it open for me. I'll love to be there. I think I'll do that. And then I'm going to focus my mind on this one opportunity. Tell me more about your place and school. Uh huh. Uh huh. And I wouldn't be wrong by saying yes and going with it. Now, by the way, this is worth pointing out. But most people would say I was foolish for declining all known places. Hmm. Well, Peter. One thing that maybe you could tell me the exact number. But my understanding is that these 6 interviews and offers and so forth, this did not take 6 months to cough them up. You haven't even been here that long. If I recall, these 6 things happened what, in your first week? In your first 3 weeks? I mean, bang, 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 bang. You could have, and then, so I need to know, first of all, just for everybody's help here, Peter, how long? Okay, yep, 6 offers in 2 weeks. Okay, so thank you. 6 offers in 2 weeks. Now, that's only the ones that you walked in on, shook hands with, and spoke to in person. Okay, but if you were to estimate how many possible centers are there in Hue, you can't even count them. But would you agree that it's probably more than 50? I'll let you take some guesses on that. But yeah, okay, no idea. Right. But I would say way more than 50. If somebody said it's more than 100, I'd probably agree with them. And that's to say nothing of independent opportunities, to say nothing of independent students and individual tutoring, that kind of thing. So, yeah, this is an abundant world is the point. So why rush it? Why jump into one? Why commit to just one? And I got to say this real quick. I've never committed to any school ever. I'm certainly work with Kuhn's School and Center, but I do so because it's enjoyable. We're good buddies. It's a good class. It's good. Everything about it is good, and most importantly, I enjoy it and want to be there. But in general, I don't work for centers at all. So that's a whole nother list of options that are out there. So also, there is a lot of value to volunteering. Not only volunteering an initial demo class to folks, but while we're at it, also volunteering your time. Work with the School of the Blind. Learn sign language. Work at an orphanage for a while. Meet old people. Join a soccer club or football club. Offer to be a guest speaker at a neurological college. I mean, do whatever. There's volunteer stuff everywhere. Work on an organic farm. Do stuff. Volunteer. Yeah, and when you're volunteer, most of the time you get fed. Every now and then they'll put you up for a place, but you're certainly going to get a whole bunch of experience, and you're going to meet a whole bunch of great people. And if you're awesome, you probably get a job out of the deal too, if you play your cards right. So the big idea is volunteer, take your time, relax, check out as many opportunities as possible, and try to do as much cool stuff as you can, as possible. And that's advice that you'll probably get on a long enough timeline when you look around on the Facebook forums and stuff like that. Take your time, meet folks in person. Cool. Okay. Next. I gotta say it. The value of learning and knowing Vietnamese. Look, a lot of folks get overwhelmed when it comes to the language, which is to say, they assume it's harder than it actually is. Or they type into YouTube, why Vietnamese is so hard, ? And they found 10 videos of people saying why it's so hard. And then they talk with local folks here and they ask that same question. Why is Vietnamese hard? Why should I not learn Vietnamese? And they're going to get all kinds of great answers. Well, great with air quotes. For example, it's going to sound like this. Well, don't learn Vietnamese, because even if you speak Vietnamese perfectly in Saigon, once you leave Saigon, nobody will understand a single word from you, because Hanoi Vietnamese and Saigon Vietnamese are so radically different. They won't understand a single word. So you shouldn't even start in the first place, because it'll be useless once you leave this city. Lie, total lie, total lie. Yeah, I went to Saigon, no problem. I went to Ha Long Bay in the north, no problem. Or, oh, it's tonal and you'll never get the tones, even if you're here for 10 years. So don't even try. It's so hard. See, I've never learned it, but I asked 10 other people who've never learned it, and they all agree that it's tonal, it's hard, the grammar's complex, and this is one of the hardest languages on earth. So I'm not even going to try. See, I'm so smart. Work smarter, not harder. YOLO! That's, and then along the way, you get encouraged, because let's face it, if you're surrounded by expats, pretty much 100% have never learned it before, and you communicate with them in English only. Yep. You go to the expat neighborhood and it's English only. And all the best places, restaurants, bars, etc., all speak English. Yep. In fact, schools will purposefully hand you money to say, come here and speak English only, please. Here you go. So your entire life is surrounded in English. All your friends speak English, and all the people you talk to specifically encourage you to not learn it. Along the way, the schools pay you to not speak it and not learn it. And your entire livelihood is ultimately based on not learning it. I get it. Why do folks sometimes not speak Vietnamese? Because they assume it's harder than it actually is. They assume it's harder than it actually is. Now, to pick an example of this, here we go. Right here. Right here. To pick this example. I made the mistake of my first trip here, not learning how to really type Vietnamese. So what I would do is have to, like, every time there's an E with a hat and an uptone on it, I would have to find that somewhere in Vietnamese text, copy it, and then paste it into whatever I'm writing, because I don't know how to type. And oh my gosh, it would take me like 30 seconds or more, sometimes a minute or two, to type that one letter. Right, because I didn't take the time to actually learn how to type Vietnamese, because in my mind, I assume that it's harder than it actually is. Now, one day I was pissed and fed up with it, so I actually fired up a couple videos and a couple quick guides to learn how to actually type. And I was like, oh my God, facepalm, this is too easy. You mean A with a hat over it is AA. O with a hat over it is OO. E with a hat over it is EE. Perfect. Oh, okay. Well, I thought it was tougher than that. It isn't. And then you obviously got to learn what the tone letters are, stuff like that. But ultimately, it took me about 5 minutes to figure out how to type Vietnamese. And I was like, face palm, damn it. My life got immediately easier, immediately. And here's a video that I put together explaining it, in a highly visual way that may be helpful to anybody watching this video here. But I want to use this as a metaphor. I ended up spending, 30 seconds a letter times 1,000 letters. So that's 500 minutes, 10 hours of, let's just say, whatever it is, 100 hours, 10 hours, whatever of time, horsing around trying to work around this one fact that I don't know how to type. But bang, 6 minutes to learn how to type, never a problem again. Oh my God, is it worth the 6 minutes? Yes, it sure is. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But again, to use this as a metaphor, it's kind of like, well, I only like to shop at, I've had friends of mine, I only want to shop at Big C or other places that speak English because I don't know the numbers yet. And that would be too much effort, something along those lines. Okay, well, how long does it take to actually learn the numbers? 6 minutes. How long does it take to be super good at it? Less than 20. So, shoot, to drive from your house to Big C and back, that's 20 minutes. But you do that, twice a day or twice a week, I mean to say, for years? Man, if you just spend a little time on the front end to learn enough Vietnamese to be able to make it happen, kick some ass. It's going to save you a ton of time in the long run and going to be extraordinarily worth it in the long run. So yeah, these are some micro examples of knowing basic Vietnamese. The practical stuff on the front end is really easy to pick up. The lowest hanging fruit is the numbers. Yeah, 10, 20 minutes, bang. The top 10 phrases that you need to party with people, bang, 20 minutes, you should have a decent handle on it. Typing, yeah, 10, 20 minutes, you should have a decent handle on typing. If you did those three only and nothing else, oh my God, your life is immediately way easier, way easier. Now, I'm going to write this for to be emphatic, okay? Uh, mm, okay, almost done. I see this all the time. I got my 120-hour TESOL certification. Good for you, bro. Oh, and I can't count to 10. I've never learned another language in my entire life and can't explain anything to anybody. I don't even know the word teach. I don't know the word teacher. I don't even have any idea what I'm doing, but I got my 120-hour certification. I just think to myself, like, gosh, that's cool. That's cool, bro. But if you just would have spent 10% of that time, 12 hours, for example, learning Vietnamese, oh, shit. That would have been way more useful in the long run, whether you're talking ability to find a job or ability to teach and explain things or fathoming the difficulty in learning another language, that kind of thing. But ultimately, I think if you're going to spend 120 hours to get a TESOL certification, spend 12 learning Vietnamese? Come on, in 12 hours. Oh my God. Yeah, you could learn an incredible amount of stuff. Sure could. I mean, to bring up another quick example, I got a buddy of mine who lives in Hawaii City here for years, but he actually decided to go back to Australia. Why? Well, he's been teaching here in Vietnam for a few years. Can't count to 10, by the way. But he wants to go back to Australia because he wants to pay $2,000 to get an adult education certification. Oh, and on top of that, he already has 2 years of college, but he wants to get a full 4-year degree. Okay. So here he is, ultimately sitting around about to drop the equivalent of like 10 to 20 grand, plus 2 or 3 years of his life, plus miscellaneous. So we might even be talking 20, 30, 40 grand. I don't know. The big reason is because he wants to become a better teacher. Hey, to a smart person, this makes sense. These credentials have gotten me this far. These more credentials will get me this far. Okay, I totally see where your head's at. That makes sense on the front end. But is it worth spending 10 fucking hours to learn how to introduce yourself and count to 10 and learn some basic shit? Come on. No, that's not worth it. No. I'm going to just completely disregard the entire language here. Never learn a language. Never expand my mind. Never learn grammatical concepts. Never be able to explain grammar to anybody. Not communicate in Vietnamese whatsoever with a single person ever under any circumstances. But I got my adult education certification, and I do happen to have this master's degree that indicates I'm a smart guy. Are you now? Bless your heart, buddy. Bless your heart. I'm not, criticizing so much, although I am pointing out this is absurd. That is an absurd way to think about it. Okay. And I specifically want to point this out because in my own direct experience, I've never been asked to show a CV or a resume ever. If I would have 5 PhDs, that would not change my current circumstances whatsoever. If I had every single certification, TESOL, CELTA, TEFL, blah, 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 adult education certified, blah, 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 blah. Hey, would that be useful for some people in some circumstances? Perhaps. But it's never once, ever come up in my entire life. Nope. Yeah, and Kuang, you're pointing out I think you should learn about the money here. Examples, mo chup, hai chup, if you live here in Hue. Okay, great. For that matter, live in any country. Right. Buying and selling is going to be a very important idea in the long run. So anyway, yes, it is true that let's just say there was an English center of some kind that was otherwise hiring folks. And let's just say there was a stack of 20 CVs sitting on their table. And then I walked in and shook their hand. I walked in with no CV, no certification, no TELFA, no, TEFL, TOEFL, CELTA, whatever the hell, zero. And I walked in and introduced myself in Vietnamese. Yeah. And then I went meow with owners and runners of the school. I've done this a ton of times, by the way. Yep. And then get to know them and speak with them in Vietnamese. Bang! Instantly hired, instantly top of the list, instantly the number one guy. They won't even look at the other CVs. Even if they did, they would say no to all of them. Oh, do you speak Vietnamese as well as Bao here? No? All right, never mind. Right. Your ability to speak Vietnamese is more important than 20 lines on your resume. It really is. Now, if you go around and bring this fact up, and I figured this out, you bring this fact up on Reddit and Facebook forums, there is going to be hundreds of people that are going to get all up in arms and going to freak out and say, Brad, you're totally wrong. All these people who have never learned Vietnamese are going to say, Brad, you're completely wrong. It's worth pointing out, they've never learned Vietnamese. They have no idea what they're talking about. The more Vietnamese you know, the better in all circumstances, in all measurements, in every way. Your daily life will become easier. Your ability to teach kids will become easier. The amount of stress that happens is easier. You don't even need a damn teaching assistant of any kind or anything like that. So yeah, that's huge. Introducing yourself to people, building a network and that kind of thing. All is super easy if you speak Vietnamese. So this is probably my number one biggest tip for folks that are otherwise interested in living here in Vietnam. Oh my God, learn as much Vietnamese as possible. Yes, I am biased because, yes, I do teach Vietnamese to foreigners that are living here or want to work here or want to be part of the country or want to make Vietnam their long-term plan. Sure, because it's mission critical. By all means, is having a TEFL certification and a college diploma certified, etc., is that helpful? Yep. Having a good resume, is that helpful? Sure is. Especially if it's your first time here. Don't get me wrong. That's all a good idea. Do it. Yeah, sure. Fine. I never have, but for over 90% of people, I'd say that's a great idea. It's a great idea. But learn Vietnamese. Learn Vietnamese. If you're serious about living here, that is the game changer. Well, I do have some quick videos here that you're able to see, of course. You can Google it, of course. Don't look for, why is Vietnamese hard? Why should I not learn it? What are the weirdest, toughest, grammatical, funny, dumb things in the language? Don't bother with that. Find yourself a kick-ass individual one-on-one tutor. If that said one-on-one tutor has like 20 certifications of some kind, don't take them because they're going to be overly academic. What you want is, let's just say a guy like Kuang, okay? And I bring you up specifically, Kung, because you you don't have any real teaching certifications of any kind. In fact, you didn't learn English academically like other people did. You learned English on your own with your own curiosity by reading online forums and then just talking one-on-one with foreigners. You learned English in that style. So as a result, when you, Kung, want to teach people Vietnamese, let's just say, you're not going to teach in an academic way. You're going to teach in a very intuitive, straightforward way that you learned languages yourself. If I ask a foreigner, would you like to learn Vietnamese from a Vietnamese teacher that speaks zero English? Foreigners will quickly laugh and say, that's absurd. I've never learned Vietnamese before, and I'm talking with someone who speaks zero English. They're not going to know how to teach me. They're not going to be able to communicate to me on how this language works and what goes on. That would be dumb. But then I'm going to go and teach folks who've never learned English and speak zero Vietnamese, and I'm going to explain to beginners how English is. Don't you see the hypocrisy here? You know? Anyway, again, I don't want to sound critical towards folks. That's not my point. The point is, the more you know, the better. You're going to emotionally understand the difficulty in learning a new language, but along the way, you're going to be able to explain it to folks in a way that they'll totally get. So yes, when you do find teachers to teach you Vietnamese, let's just say, find guys like Kuang. Don't find Mr. Certification, Mr. CV, fat CV guy or gal. And yes, but once again, I'm happy to teach you Vietnamese. First class is free. I'll crush it with you. Now, so yes, the value of learning a language is huge. And this knowing the language actually spills over into a lot of other huge aspects of your day and your life. Yes, buying fruit, renting a house, getting to know the neighbors next to you, calling a taxi, getting beer bought, figuring stuff out about the country. What's the history of the language? What's the history of my city? Where are good places to save money? How can I get to? I want to do a border run, but all the English-speaking white people in downtown tell me that it's $500,000 for a bus ticket. Oh, ask a Vietnamese guy here, it's $80,000. Oh, and then he'll even bring me to the bus station for free. Only found that out because I speak Vietnamese. If you want to save money and you want your spending to drop in half, speak Vietnamese. So yeah, it is fundamental. And yes, I keep hitting on it. Absolutely. Also, I think it's valuable to go onto YouTube and type in downsides of living in Vietnam, negative aspects of living in Vietnam, or sadnesses, or whatever the case is. You're going to find a couple of key videos. And a lot of the anger, sadness, depression, etc., has to do with loneliness. Yeah. The point is, you have to find, Kuang is pointing out, you have to find a teacher who knows both languages. Exactly. So here you are. If, as an expat, perhaps, English-speaking expat, if you know both languages, bang. Yep, you're an ideal teacher. If you don't, you're an over-certified teacher. Are you going to make money without speaking Vietnamese? Yep. Sure are. Are you going to have a bunch of people applauding you along the way? Yep, sure are. Is it possible to survive and then emerge here without being able to count to 10 in 2 years? Sure is. Are you going to meet 100 other people that do the same thing? Sure are. That's not the point. The point is, you're missing the beauty and you're missing the magic. Yeah, that's the big idea. Hey, Rosaline. Hey, Bao. I was just with my Han Sum Ban Mi guy absorbing some new vocab. Hey! Wonderful to have you, by the way, Rose. Yeah. Oh, I missed you, girl. Yeah, and you'll be in Hue here pretty soon. So good to see ya. And yeah, I think I was just talking about the value of knowing the language out here, and I did want to. I'm glad Rose is here because Rosaline is here because Rosaline's a great example. Just in a few hours of just hanging out and just knowing a few key phrases, and all of a sudden the whole experience becomes all too rich. In fact, Rosaline, maybe you could explain, just being able to introduce yourself, saying where you're from, how old you are, the fact that you're single happily, and teach yoga, let's just say, just those simple things. Oh my gosh, having a cup of coffee goes from awkward, I don't know what's happening here, I have no idea what's going on, who any of these people are, I'm going to stare at my shoes and get out of here as fast as possible, to, hey, hello, friend. Oh, I just learned 10 new words. Oh, these people are so right. It's a complete game changer, So again, hopefully, Rosaline, you agree, but obviously you get some new vocab in just now. That's terrific. That's absolutely terrific. So, oh, okay. Yeah. Thank you for saying that, Rose. Missed you, man. A few days with Brad was a major game changer. Yeah. I mean, you would agree. You don't need the whole language. Let's just start with an hour. Start with one day. And then just see what happens. You'll be damn surprised. So, anyway, what I was going to point out, there's a couple of funny videos. One gentleman, I think Alex Stevenson, who is ninja teacher. And I applaud what that gentleman is doing. He's got a terrific YouTube channel and does a great job and helps a lot of like type 1 people, meaning those who want their certification, CV, find a job, etc. That's his goal and way of going about it, and that's terrific. Okay, more power to him. With that said, he does have a video on combating loneliness. Loneliness, of all damn things. He was living in a city of 150,000 people. Lonely as fuck. Yeah. And then crying himself to sleep, depressed. By the way, he is the guy who is the expert on teaching expats how to live in Vietnam. And he cries himself to sleep out of loneliness in a town of 150,000 people because there's not enough expats here. Oh no. I mean, there's nobody to meet and nobody speaks my language. So I just work at my center for a few hours, then go home and watch Netflix and cry myself to sleep. Wah! Don't be that guy. I mean, he's got a lot of terrific advice. I'm not going to invalidate, other things that he's pointing out. And maybe that was overly rude. Again, I don't want to be rude to the guy, but he's bespeaking on behalf of over 90% of people that are here. Okay. What I mean by that is his video is very relevant for 90% of folks who speak zero Vietnamese, get lonely as fuck. Yeah, it's a reality. This is a reality. And I've got friends of mine that work at the hostel, let's just say, and here they are at the hostel, and it's like they work at the hostel. They have like 4 buddies that work at the hostel. They go home and then they share a house with like 3 other dudes who work at the hostel. When they have a day off, they go to the hostel. When they go on vacation, they go to another city, Da Nang, Hoi An, Hue, whatever, and go to the hostel. And then, you know what? Hanging with the same like 4 dudes on a daily basis, damn near 24/7. After about 2 years, they're like, yeah, I'm pretty bored. No shit. No shit. You talk with the same few people in the same language and the same thing for hours in a row. No shit. So yeah, loneliness, isolation, etc. is definitely all. I could boil it all back down to knowing the language or not. Yep. If they spoke Vietnamese, non-issue. And yeah, Rosaline, don't worry too much about tone. As Brad says, a lot can be said with body language and a good attitude. The rest will come with you. Stick with it. Yeah, I would say. A lot of folks don't even begin Vietnamese because, it's a tonal language. This is going to be tricky. I don't know if I could pull that off. And blah, blah, blah. Shut up. Don't worry about it. Just do your best. Get close. Be 80, 90% close. It's better than 0. Be 50% close, and people might get it occasionally and then correct you afterwards. Just swing for the fences. Who cares? Hey, by the way, when you first learn to play piano, guess what? You don't sit at a piano and then like crush out a perfect song on your first day, do you? We could all acknowledge that it takes like a fair amount of time to get the muscle memory in. We can all agree to that. But it would be absurd to say that playing piano is impossible, and I think that would be very analogous. However, speaking Vietnamese takes less time than learning piano, for sure. Now, getting out of this bubble and having a rich life, yes, learning Vietnamese. It's interesting that the advice that a lot of these people who have these crying lonely videos online, again, look it up for yourself, is a lot of their advice is meet as many other fellow expats as you can and at least talk with them. Call home to your family and talk with them in English as much as possible. So that way you don't have to cry yourself to sleep. And that's pretty good advice in general. There's nothing wrong with meeting expats, and you should call your family. So these are smart people with smart advice. Again, they're completely missing the point. And that is, if you know Vietnamese, your life is good. If you don't, your life is limited, period. Now, and Kuang, thank you for writing this. In conclusion, I want to say, meaning Kuang, you want to say, do 3 steps. 1, learn Vietnamese. 2, go around and make friends with people. 3, choose the life you want to live. Kuang, Thank you, buddy. You actually just summed up pretty much everything I want to say with people who are just coming here to Vietnam. In fact, that really should be the title of this video. 3 steps from Kung. Learn Vietnamese, make friends with people, Vietnamese people, and choose the life you want. Thank you. Yes, that's the point. That is the big point. Now, if you miss all 3 of these steps, meaning you never learn Vietnamese and you never go around and meet any people, Vietnamese people that is, and instead of choosing the life you want to live, you just sign up with the first company that hands you a contract. Well, you just failed on all 3 of those, and you're going to magically find your life is pretty goddamn limited, super limited. You're in this little bubble, in this little shoehorn. You have one basic thing that you can do and nothing else. Right. And that sucks. I mean, will you live? Sure. Will you make enough money to make it? Sure. Will people applaud you along the way? Probably. But you missed it. You missed it. So, anyway, on the note of socializing, I did want to say, to kind of focus a little more on that, okay? On the note of socializing. Okay, a lot of people will be quick to admit or quick to, what's the word? Show, point out, demonstrate, talk about the fact that that Vietnamese people are super friendly. And they're actually totally right, that Vietnamese people are really friendly. Now, with that said, you're only seeing the smile part of it, the wave people over part of it, you know, or some other true but superficial aspect of it. Once you actually speak the language and then actually are with people and actually hang with people, make a bunch of Vietnamese friends that you hang out with on a regular basis, you see a whole nother angle and a whole nother dimension of the friendliness out here. So that's the aspect that I really want to show folks and really want to underscore that is possible if you let it be. So in that regard, like to pick an example here, like sure, could I walk superficially through a restaurant or a market and then say hi to a bunch of folks? Yep. Are they going to seem friendly on the front end? Yep. Are they going to laugh with us? Yep. But I tell you what, if you go to a buddy's father's death anniversary and then you hang with him in his tiny village, yeah, and then you get to meet each one of his neighbors, friends, relatives, etc. Now you're talking. Now you're going to see the real love, the shung, you know, that people have. And I'm going to turn on Unikey if I can and type this in, shung, because this is actually a very relevant word. Oh, that's written it in Unikey. Maybe Kuang, you can help me write this. You know what I'm trying to write. Shung. Now, this is hard to define in English, but really, shung, what this means is the love of the people, the friendliness and warmth of the people who are happy, but they may not own a lot, but they're happy because they have people. Shung, it can also mean like the beauty and sweetness in the hearts that people have got. The friendliness and closeness, soul to soul, that people have got. Shung. So Vietnam is very shung, but very, very shung. And you see a little bit of that on the surface here and there. But once you speak the language, once you're with the people, you see the real shung. Not only see, but you feel and can become part of. And the shung of Vietnam becomes part of your soul. It'll help you become a more shung sort of person. And that's one of the major beauties of this area. That's the magic. And once you've got the shung, and once you get that, once you're surrounded by people who are very shung, who feel shung, your life becomes beautiful. You will never be lonely again. Never be lonely again. You need anything because people are so shung, they'll help you out. And yeah, and again, forgive me, I'm not able to write this. Nope, Unikey isn't working. But again, Kung, help me out, or if any of y'all have Unikey on your keyboard, just type what I just wrote right there, and you'll see it's S U hook O hook N G uptone. But whatever. The bottom line is, smile with a bunch of folks, meet friends of friends. If you need something handled, instead of asking the Facebook forums, for all of your advice, ask your local neighbor guys or, coffee woman or something like that. I got a tandem bicycle right now, and I happen to own that because, well, I asked my coffee buddies, hey, I would like to have I want to buy a tandem bike. They called, and a friend of a friend lined that all up for me. Right. If I didn't speak Vietnamese and I only asked in the Facebook forums, I wouldn't own said bike right now. Nope. If I shopped online, I wouldn't own it. Right. So a lot comes down to this idea. Thank you, Peter. Yeah, and with the S on the back, it's got an uptone to it, to my recollection. But yeah, that's pretty damn close. People said this word a lot when I first got here, and I had no idea what it means. In fact, it doesn't have an English translation directly. But nor does one's love for a country have an exact, simple explanation either, does it? So anyway, moving forward. I want to point this out. Whoop. Okay. And sorry, I didn't write that perfectly, but boring people get bored. Angry people meet angry people. Awesome people always have an awesome time. When I see videos from folks who are bored and crying themselves to sleep and lonely, I'm like, that's your fault, man. That is not a fault of Vietnam. If I meet people who are sitting there unemployed for a couple years, and I'm like, well, that's because you're not a champion. You're unemployable and a fool. You can criticize Vietnam all you want, but this is a reflection of yourself. In contrast, if a person is sitting here with tons of friends, surrounded by great people in all cases, all the time, that's a factor of themselves and their ideas and their attitude that they generally have towards this world. So along these same lines, okay, there is this. We're talking about ideas, overall attitudes, and ways of looking at the country. This idea of entitlement is quite prevalent, out here. So we've got to find an antidote to this somehow. What is entitlement, and where does this come from? Well, it comes from a handful of places, but in short, what does it mean? What this means is, I show up here, I have my certification, I have my degree, and I want to get to work right away and people to give me money. Not only give me money, but I want to earn 3 to 5 times as much as all other Vietnamese people who are way smarter than me. Oh, yeah, for sure. And I want to work at my hours and my time and in my circumstances, and I deserve this, and this. They're not totally wrong, but that is a very entitled way of thinking about the world. So, there's a lot of folks who are like, oh, well, I came here with no experience, no job, no anything. But then I said yes to the first contract that came along. And then they ended up putting me in a tiny town that I've never been to, that I have no idea what the hell is going on. Fuck this. The whole system ain't good. Vietnam's a bad place to go and live and travel. Let me tell you more about my experience. And they may or may not have a limp wrist about it. They may or may not be pissy or whatever. But the thing is, they felt entitled in the first place. They felt like they deserved the best right out the gate. Yikes. They feel like they deserve the best jobs and everyone should cater to them. Everyone should speak English to them and communicate to them in a way that they understand. And they have no obligation to otherwise learn what the country is, speak the language, and otherwise integrate into the whole area. They're not totally wrong. What I mean by that is, again, 90% of folks who do show up here, that describes them exactly. And they are able to make a living while out here. So they're not totally wrong. Fact is, if you've got this attitude, it's going to diminish the potential you've got out here. It's going to diminish how awesome it could be. It's going to make your life less awesome. And it's going to, again, trap your way of thinking. A contrasting or antidote way of thinking about this would be, I don't deserve anything special ahead of anybody else. I don't deserve better treatment than anybody else. In fact, I've got to work hard for everything I get. I've got to be able to speak the language well. If I'm going to teach a language, I've got to go out. If I'm lonely, I'm the guy who's got to go and meet some friends. Yeah. Okay. People are not obligated to come by and befriend me. Okay. Right. You've got to go out and get it. You got to go out and get it. If you have this entitled idea, then you feel as if, again, people should come to you and handle you and help you. Oh, I want to start a bank account, but none of my friends will go to the bank and translate for me. Wah. Right. Open up a goddamn banking website, and then word by word go through it until you know all the Vietnamese word for everything having to do with banking. That would make tons of sense. If you're not entitled, that's of course what you would do. But if you feel entitled, you're like, oh, no, someone will take care of it for me. That's what I deserve. So you can see, this idea of entitlement, it can be poisonous, which is to say, it can actually reduce your potential. It makes you less motivated to take care of your goddamn self. It makes you less motivated to learn yourself what you got to do and get out there and, grow a pair. Get out there and make it happen. Get out there and make it happen your goddamn self. Hey, if you're crying yourself to sleep at night because you're living in some random town and you're the only, expat / white person, or whatever, in the area, and you're crying yourself to sleep because you're so lonely, good. Make that a wake-up call, my friend. You're going about it in the wrong way. Make that a wake-up call and make that a reason to get your shit together, grow a pair, learn what you got to learn. So again, start with the goddamn hello. Start with my name is. Start with I want to buy this. Start with the basics, and then start expanding and moving on in your goddamn life. Okay, if you're pissed because you can't find work, good. Be pissed. Use that as a wake-up call. Wake the fuck up. Go and get a better CV if that's your thing. Go and shake more hands. Get a better business card. Make more friends. Ask more questions. If you're just looking on Facebook, I'm like, oh, nothing's here. Where? Good. Wake up. This is a beautiful opportunity in a beautiful country, and all this magic. And by the way, Peter, cheers, man. Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. We'll see you next time. But anyway, good. If you're feeling these negative emotions, good. Wake up call. If you've got a legal problem of some kind and you don't know how to solve it, good. Take that as a motivation. So when I see folks who are, online, either A, bitching about a given situation of some kind, or B, pissed that their life isn't as simple as they were expecting, or C, want to get married but don't know how to go about it, or D, been living here for months and still can't get a job of any kind. Good. Good for you, man. That's a reflection of you. Boring people get bored. Awesome people are awesome. Unemployable people remain unemployed. So wake up. And as soon as you can disregard all mental connection with the idea of entitlement, I deserve a job, I deserve a good life right out the gate, I deserve to put forth very little effort aside from sending a couple messages and all my problems are magically solved. As soon as you put that idea away and you just fucking get after it yourself, that's when you start kicking some ass out here. That's when you become a champion. So if I were to kind of sum everything all up here, Kung put it quite well already. Learn Vietnamese, go around and make friends with people, choose the life you want to live. I could simplify it to another 3 distinct tips. Number 1, be awesome. Be awesome. Yeah, be awesome, which includes, be smiling and enthusiastic. Yeah, be a go-getter, be a learner. Come here and learn as much Vietnamese as you can. Learn everything you can about the world. Learn everything you can about this country. Again, about the holidays. What's the street name? What's the history? What are the people celebrating? What's going on here? Who are all my neighbors? What different foods do they have here? What's the history of all these different foods? Be a champion. Learn everything. Yeah, be a hungry hippo for information and knowledge. Learn everything you can under all circumstances about everything. Always, relentlessly. When you wake up in the morning, research Vietnam. When you go to bed, research Vietnam. You've been here for 3 years, wake up, read about Vietnam. Yeah, go and get it. Go and get it. So, in the meantime, be awesome, be a champion. Be smiling, enthusiastic with everybody you meet. Say hi to everybody. Rosaline, you might remember, I mentioned, these 3 steps. Be smiling, enthusiastic, and awesome. Say hi to everybody. If you start there and do nothing else, you win. Don't pigeonhole yourself into one way of thinking with one group of people. Be as open-minded as you can and meet people from all backgrounds and all circumstances. Old retired people, young married couples, old retired couples, traveling people, people who have lived here and never traveled, Vietnamese people, foreigners and expats, online people, and otherwise. Meet everybody. Anyway, take these ideas, y'all. And I want to say I hope the best for everybody. I hope that Vietnam is a great choice. I hope that Vietnam becomes the best thing you've ever done and the best life you could ever have. It is if you want it to be. But anyway, I'm going to wrap up here, but these are the main ones. I appreciate your guys' attention and ideas. And I'll sincerely, looking forward to catching y'all next time around, when the time is right. Let me know if I can personally help you out with anything. Feel free to send me a message on YouTube, Facebook, or otherwise. Stay awesome, y'all. Yeah, and Blake, you enjoy the rest of your trip and look me up when you get your butt out here to Vietnam. And we'll catch you all then, huh? Oh, and also too, Blake, don't be afraid to call me, man. Cheers, y'all. Peace out, huh?